Welcome to Breaking Ties, Is Divorce the Answer? This is your go-to source for practical advice and support when considering if a divorce is the right answer for you. Join us each weekday for a quick chat where we'll uncover a variety of topics such as child custody, property division, and self-care. Together, we'll explore the emotional, financial, and legal aspects of divorce and help you find the best path forward for you and your family. Here is your host and Certified Divorce Financial Analyst professional, Mike Fulkerson.
Welcome to today's episode of Breaking Ties, Is Divorce the Answer? I'm your host, Mike Fulkerson, financial advisor and certified divorce financial analyst professional. In today's episode, we're discussing a topic that affects many families who have gone through a divorce: child support modification. When a divorce occurs, the court may order one parent to pay child support to the other parent. But what happens when circumstances change and the paying parent can no longer afford to pay the same amount? Or what if the receiving parent needs more support for the child? In today's episode, we'll explore when child support can be modified after a divorce. Now, we got to understand child support before we dive into the topic of modification. So defining child support, really, it's a payment made by one parent to the other to help cover the expenses of raising a kid. This can include basic necessities such as food, shelter, and clothing, as well as other expenses like healthcare, education, and extracurricular activities. The purpose of child support is to ensure that the child is provided for and their standard of living is not impacted by the divorce of their parents. So let's look at when child support can be modified. And it has to do when there is a significant change in circumstance for either the paying or receiving parent. This could include a change in income, a change in needs of the child, or a change in the custody agreement. For example, if the paying parent loses their job or experiences a decrease in income, they may request a reduction in child support. On the other hand, if the child's needs increase, such as requiring costly medical treatment, the receiving parent may request an increase in child support. The modification process is not always easy, and it's not also guaranteed. To modify child support, either parent can file a motion in the court. The court will then consider the new circumstances and make a determination on whether or not to modify the child support order. It's important to note that child support can only be modified prospectively, meaning that the change will only apply to future payments, not past due amounts. In conclusion, child support can be modified after a divorce when there's a significant change in circumstances for either parent or child. The process involves filing a motion with the court and presenting evidence of the change in circumstance. Child support modifications can help ensure that the child's needs are being met and that both parents are able to fulfill their responsibilities. If you have questions about child support modification, it is best to seek the advice of an experienced family law attorney who has divorce experience. An attorney can actually help guide you through the process and help you understand more of what you need. That's all for today's episode of Breaking Ties, Is Divorce the Answer? Thank you for tuning in. Should you have any questions on today's topic or other financial planning issues, please don't hesitate to reach out via email or call. My contact information is in the description. Divorce is not the end of your story. It is the start of your next great chapter. Take care. Hi, and welcome to this episode of Breaking Ties, Is Divorce the Answer? I'm your host, Mike Fulkerson, financial advisor and certified divorce financial analyst professional. Today, I would like to talk about what happens to a spouse's business during a divorce. I don't have to share with you that divorce is difficult and can be a rather complicated process. And for many people, their business is a critical part of their lives and financial stability. So what happens to that business during a divorce? Let's take a look. To start, let's first talk about what it means to own a business. There are two main types of business ownership: sole proprietorship and partnership. In a sole proprietorship, the business is owned and operated by one person. In a partnership, the business is owned and operated by two or more people. When it comes to a divorce, the court considers all marital assets to be the subject of division. This includes a spouse's business if it was established during the marriage. The court will value the business and determine its worth as part of the overall marital estate. Once the court has determined the value of the business, there are several options for what can happen to it. Option one spouse can buy the other spouse's share of the business. This is pretty simple and straightforward. Option two, the business can be sold and the proceeds divided between the spouses. This works as long as one spouse doesn't need the income from the business. Option three, the business can continue to operate with each spouse receiving a portion of the profits. No matter which option is chosen, it's important for both spouses to have a clear understanding of the terms of the agreement. This is where having a well-drafted divorce settlement agreement is crucial. A divorce settlement agreement should clearly outline the terms of the divorce, including how the business will be divided. It's also good to know that you should probably have a divorce attorney who's knowledgeable in these situations work with you to ensure that the business is taken care of properly and everything is fair as possible between the spouses. And that's it for today's episode of the Breaking Ties is Divorce the Answer podcast. We hope this information has been informative and helpful in understanding what happens to a spouse's business during a divorce. Divorce is a complex process, and remember, you're going to probably want to enlist the help of an attorney. Should you have any questions on today's topic or financial planning questions in general, I'm happy to help. My contact information is in the description. Remember, divorce is not the end of your story. It is the start of your next great chapter. All the best. Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Breaking Ties is Divorce the Answer, where we dive into divorce aspects when considering getting a divorce. I'm your host, Mike Fulkerson, a financial advisor and certified divorce financial analyst. And today we're going to be talking about the length of spousal support, spousal maintenance, or also called alimony once a divorce is finished. So let's start with spousal maintenance, alimony, and what is it? It is a court-ordered payment from one spouse to another after a divorce. It is meant to provide financial support to the spouse who is in need of it, often due to a difference in earning capacity between the two individuals. And the main reason for this is to maintain the standard of living for both parties after the divorce as much as possible. Now, there's going to be a number of factors that determine the length of the spousal maintenance. And when we look at these factors, it's going to include, probably one of the bigger ones is the length of the marriage. How long were you married for? Secondly, right behind it is going to be that earning capacity of both spouses. And third, as I mentioned earlier, is going to be that standard of living established during the marriage. In general, spousal support or spousal maintenance is intended to last only as long as necessary to allow the recipient spouse to become self-sufficient. Now we have two main types of spousal support: temporary and permanent. Temporary spousal maintenance is really ordered during the divorce proceedings and lasts only until the divorce is finalized. Once the divorce is finalized, the permanent spousal support kicks in. And this is going to be that court order that says all the details regarding spousal maintenance. And it's going to be set for a period of time or until the recipient spouse remarries or passes away. Now, when it gets down to the length of permanent spousal support, maintenance, alimony, whatever term you use, the length of it is going to vary depending on the circumstances of each individual case. For shorter term marriages, spousal maintenance may only last a few years. For long term marriages, spousal support can last several years or even for the recipient's life. So, this concludes today's episode of Breaking Ties Is Divorce the Answer? I hope you found this information on the length of spousal support after a divorce helpful. Remember, if you have any questions, it's always best to look up a licensed attorney for those legal questions, and also just for peace of mind sometimes. But you're going to want to interview them, and you're going to find a good one who fits your style and need. Should you have any questions for me on today's topic or other financial planning issues, feel free to contact me using the information in the description of the podcast. I'm happy to help any way I can. Divorce is not the end of your story. It is the start of your next great chapter. Thank you for listening, and until next time, stay informed. Welcome back to Breaking Ties Is Divorce the Answer? I'm your host, Mike Fulkerson, financial advisor and certified divorce financial analyst professional. And today we're going to talk about divorce, and more specifically, a no-fault divorce. First, I think we probably just need to start out with kind of what is a no-fault divorce. A no-fault divorce is a type of divorce where neither party is blaming the other for the breakdown of the marriage. Instead, the reason for the divorce is that the marriage is irretrievably broken. This means that neither party is at fault, and both parties agree that the marriage can no longer be saved. Now, there are some advantages of a no-fault divorce, and one of the main advantages is that it can be less acrimonious and stressful for both parties. When neither party is blaming the other, it can take some of the heat out of the situation and make it easier for both parties to come to a resolution. This can also make the divorce process quicker and less costly at times. How do we get a no-fault divorce? Well, getting a no-fault divorce is usually a simple process, provided both parties are in agreement. First, one party needs to file a divorce petition with the court, stating that the marriage has irretrievably broken down. If the other party agrees, they will sign a consent order, and the divorce can be granted. If the other party doesn't agree, then the divorce can still go ahead, but it may take longer and be more complicated. Some final thoughts here as we wrap up. A no-fault divorce can be less stressful and a quicker process for both parties involved. However, both parties have to be in agreement. It's important to remember that divorce is a difficult and emotional time for everyone involved. So it's essential to seek the help of qualified professionals if you need it, whether it's a therapist, financial advisor, or an attorney. That's all for today's episode of Breaking Ties. Is divorce the answer? Should you have any questions on today's topic or financial planning issues in general, my contact information is in the podcast description. Don't hesitate to reach out. Divorce is not the end of your story. It is the start of your next great chapter. And with that, take care. Welcome to another episode of Breaking Ties Is Divorce the Answer? The podcast that dives into the complexities of relationships and the decisions we make when facing crossroads. I'm your host, Mike Fulkerson, financial advisor and certified divorce financial analyst professional. And we're going to look at a particularly sensitive but crucial topic today, preparing children for the impact of divorce when considering such a monumental decision. We are going to navigate the challenging terrain of divorce and how we can prioritize the well-being of the youngest members of our families. We all know divorce is never an easy decision. I'm not an advocate for divorce, and I have been divorced myself. It is often fraught with emotions, uncertainties, and difficult conversations. However, when children are involved, the stakes are higher, and the responsibility of guiding them through this process becomes paramount. So, where do we begin? The first step is acknowledging the impact a divorce can have on children. It's essential to understand that children may experience a wide range of emotions, from confusion to sadness, anger, or even a sense of guilt. Communication becomes the cornerstone of navigating this delicate journey. Open, honest, and age-appropriate conversations can provide children with a sense of security amidst this great upheaval. Make sure they know it's not their fault, and most importantly, that they are loved regardless of the changes happening around them. Now let's talk about preparation. Anticipating potential challenges and planning ahead can mitigate the impact of divorce on your children. Seeking professional guidance if needed, therapists, counselors, or support groups can offer valuable insights tailored to your unique situation. Another critical aspect is maintaining a sense of routine. Amidst the changes, try to keep stability in their daily lives. This includes school routines, extracurricular activities, and most importantly, spending quality time with each parent. And remember, empathy is key. Put yourself in your child's shoes and try to see the situation from their perspective. Be patient, answer their questions, and reassure them that while the family dynamic may change, your love for them remains constant. It's also vital to foster a healthy co-parenting relationship. Encourage open communication with your ex-spouse regarding decisions that impact the children. Consistency in parenting styles and rules across both households can provide a sense of stability for the kids. Lastly, take care of yourself. It's easy to get caught up in the whirlwind of emotions and forget about self-care. However, by prioritizing your mental and emotional well-being, you can be better equipped to support your children through this challenging time. In conclusion, navigating a divorce when children are involved is undoubtedly challenging, but it's not insurmountable. By approaching the situation with empathy, communication, and thoughtful preparation, you can create an environment that fosters resilience and growth for your children. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Breaking Ties, Is Divorce the Answer? As always, should you have any questions on today's topic or other financial planning issues, feel free to reach out to me using the information in the podcast description. I'm here to help any way I can. And remember, divorce is not the end of your story. It is the start of your next great chapter. Until next time, take care of yourselves and your children.
We want to thank you for listening to this episode of Breaking Ties, Is Divorce the Answer? With Mike Fulkerson. For questions, please reach out to Mike via email in the description or give him a shout at 630-444-1410. And remember to subscribe, like, and follow.